All right, welcome to day 3 of Cognitive Drawing. If you don't have Cognitive Drawing, you can go to cognitivedrawing.com right now and pick up yourself a copy. It's 160 pages, 90 days of exercises where you will study the full male figure and memorize it from every angle. All right, so let's talk about body types and styles and shapes and proportions. Every person is unique in shape and size, and this makes it difficult to find a standard. Not to mention all the different styles of art you can draw in as well. So what are the correct proportions of the male body? To settle this problem, let's take a look at this classic sketch by Leonardo da Vinci titled The Vitruvian Man. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Leonardo studied proportions in depth. Let's see what we can learn from his sketch. All right, so this is that famous sketch. I added some underwear to make this all kid-friendly, mother-approved. Let's just go over here and study this a little closer. The first proportion you might notice is the dividing line right at the crotch. So right where the crotch is, it's right in the middle of the body. So if you split up the body, top and the half, you'll notice that that crotch line is at the 50% mark. At least in this sketch it is. Notice how my body is 8 heads tall, 4 heads on the top half and 4 heads on the bottom half. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You can kind of see where the knees are right here at the 2 heads. You can see kind of where it lines up with the calf muscles right here. My nipples are 2 heads down. So right at the nipple mark, 2 heads down. My belly button is 3 heads down. Bloop. Right, exactly. So the goal of this book is to not teach you all this stuff mechanically. The goal of this book is to help you guys see this stuff for yourself. Part of drawing, a huge part of drawing, is being able to see things. And so that's what I really want you guys to do with this book and these exercises, is learn to see things and come up with these conclusions yourself. So it's your job to start noticing these universal proportions in everything you draw and see. Okay? All right. So now we're going to get onto a piece of paper and actually do this exercise. The first thing we'll want to do is throw in a head, because we already have these heads counted out, 8 heads tall. We know that this halfway point right here, 4 heads down, so 50% of the body, 50%, we know that this is the crotch line. Remember, this 2 heads down is the nipples, 3 heads down is the belly button, crotch, and then we have kneecaps down here. So let's just quickly throw in some shapes. You don't have to do crazy stuff here. I'm just throwing in some really simple shapes just to kind of work with proportions. That's all we're thinking about is proportions. We're not thinking about how to make this body look perfect. So nipples, belly button, crotch line, knees, and we've got feet. And we're just doing real simple shapes. Just triangles and lines. That's all we're thinking about. Let's just throw in the arms here, and you can see that I have kind of the hands kind of go below this crotch line area. So you can just have something really simple like this, just kind of extending out to kind of give you all the information you need for the proportions. It looks like he has a big diaper on, so let's change that. Let's give him some shorts. There we go. So this is our basic guy with basic proportions. We're not focusing on anything like muscles. You can throw in a little bit of muscles, but we're not focusing on that because that's what we're going to learn in cognitive drawing. Right now we're trying to memorize the proportions. And so this is your basic guy. Right? Makes sense? See how quickly we were able to do that? It might take some time to study this and practice this to kind of have that memorized. But let's move on to the next page. This is still part of day 3. So here's our reference. We're going to do an actual cognitive drawing study of the proportions. Now remember, it's just for the proportions, nothing else. I match all the proportions that we studied on the last page. Cover up the reference and draw this simple guy with the correct height proportions from memory. Keep it very simple. Okay, so we're going to cover up, right? So you can do this if you want. You can kind of throw in some head lengths. So that's 4. So let's have this head. We're just throwing the body in there real quick, just some real basic lines. Knees right on that line, crotch right on this line. So if we want to have shorts, nipples, and we'll just have the hands come down below. Or you can have this guy going like this. Like maybe he's going, hey guys, look at this. You can erase some things if you want. Again, it's only proportions we're thinking about. You're not thinking about anything else. We're gonna string together all the details and study all the details and practice them later. Okay? But right now we're just thinking about proportions. That crotch line, knee line, belly button, nipples, and how it equates to how many heads tall you have. Okay? And then we just go down here. This one here, you draw it while you're looking at your reference. Okay? So you'll again go through this whole thing again with your head lengths. You know, kind of throw out some lines. You know, foreheads down, foreheads again are the feet, body. You know, you can get this stuff down really fast. I mean, let's just do this as fast as we can, and we can see belly button, nipples. See, even I'm messing up here. Let's straighten this up a little bit. So we have the crotch line. Now, one of the things that's always, even still to me, knees. The pen is going crazy on me. And feet. Okay? One of the things that's always hard for people to get is the length of the legs in comparison to the length of the rest of the body. I see a lot of beginner students just really making those legs long because they're like, this is so unusual. Why are the legs so long? You know, and that's understandable. It's confusing because we're all used to drawing little cartoony characters, you know, like proportions like that, you know. And that's what a lot of cartoons are drawn like. And, you know, we're not trying to do that. That's great. It's a great style, but it's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to do quick, realistic proportions. And so, again, I guess I just did it with you guys. So let's cover up all this. Sometimes it's a little hard to cover up everything. And again, let's just go over it one more time from memory. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the thing is, you don't have, pretty soon you'll get to a point to where you can just kind of draw this stuff without much assistance of the lines, you know. You don't have to really draw on all those lines anymore, and you can get that those proportions figured out pretty quickly. That's the goal, is just to be able to throw proportions together really quickly and just get your main shapes thrown onto paper, even if it's a wireframe. You know, some artists like using wireframes like this, like stick figures. And it's all about getting the proportions. You know, those are the same proportions, if my pen would work. So that's what we're studying in today's lesson. So focus on proportions, not on hitting all the anatomy. You don't need to worry about anatomy, just straight lines, simple lines, proportions. That's all we're thinking about, trying to memorize those proportions, just like we talked about here. And then the final test for today will be this. If you've really memorized your proportions, then you can work with this. It's going to look really weird upside down, but just think, how many heads tall are we? 3, 4, that's about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So try to draw this as good as you can from memory. Remember that halfway point, that's our critical point. It sure is hard to draw this stuff upside down, but if you have your proportions memorized, then it's not going to be a problem. All you know is, oh, okay, I got to put the crotch there, the belly button here, the nipples here. Hands go a little bit below that bottom line. Right? And you have yourself the basic proportions. My pen is just not helping me. Hopefully this is dark enough so you can see. So my pencil stopped working and my camera ran out of batteries all at the same time. So I ended up sharpening this one. I don't have a pencil sharpener, so I just used a knife. I finished this up with darker lines so that you could see it. And I have to admit, it's hard to draw upside down, but this really tests your brain to make sure you just have the proportions down. And so now for the ultimate test. Yeah, it doesn't look that good. And I would never actually draw a character upside down, but it definitely tested me to make sure I knew the proportions. And one thing you can do as well is you can use your pencil like this to kind of mark out a little bit more precisely. See, it looks like some of my lines were a little short. It goes to the bottom of that gold line. And so it looks like my lines were just a little bit short. If I continue this down, the crotch should have been a little lower, and that would have made the legs a little less stretched. So let's just go ahead and fix that, and then these arms would be a little longer as well. If they come down to here, and then the actual hands start here. Right? Really, really rough stuff here. So don't try to get precise with any of this. We're just playing with proportions, okay? So yeah, the knee lines would be a little lower. So these are some of the problems that that I ran into. Just getting those knees a little lower. Let's just put them right there on that line. Yeah, we'd actually lower our belly button a little bit too, and let's go about there. All right, so that's what my character looks like when I flip it back over and refine it a little bit more. So I suggest doing that after you've drawn it upside down. Flip it over, refine it. Just make sure you are really getting an idea of those proportions. And as we move on through this book, we'll figure out how to make all this anatomy look perfect. And we'll focus on legs and arms and muscles and all these different groups. So don't worry, we will get there. All right, guys, so that is the end of day 3. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and we'll see you tomorrow.